What's the scariest thing that has happened to you? A man in what looked like a very expensive black suit walked up to me randomly in the street. It seemed not another soul was around as I almost ran into him right after barely looking up in time to avoid a collision. He was staring at me straight in the eye, which captivated me. I couldn't look away. He said, "I can smell your heart as unpure. Your soul looks corruptible. You will fight in my war." I started to run, feeling my flee reflex kick in harder than it has since or before. As I glanced over my shoulder 10 feet up, he was gone. I've had people threaten to bomb and shoot up the convenience store I worked at several times. There have even been a couple mass shootings down the road. It happened when I was 13 years old. My 11-year-old sister and I shared a queen bed at the time. We were both fast asleep, and from being dead asleep my eyes were all of a sudden wide open. I could see my Hello Kitty alarm clock and it was 3 a.m. on the dot. I blink and next to my bed is a man-sized figure with a black cloak on, like a grim reaper with the hood on. It didn't have a face, just hair that grew upward from the neck completely covering where a face should have been. My body was completely frozen. It slowly raised its left hand over my body and I remember thinking I was fighting for my life. The hand was bony and a pale blue with large veins. In my head I said no. I couldn't speak out loud, and started reciting the Our Father prayer. Then it was gone. That's when I realized I had been holding my breath. I sat up and gasped for air. I then ran down the hall screaming for my parents. I couldn't sleep in bed alone until I was 17 years old. My little sister never saw that thing. I will never forget it. I'm not sure if it was a vivid dream, a ghost, demon, hallucination or whatever. All I know is that something happened that was so terrifying it took me years to feel safe again. When I was 17 I heard my closet door open, then a hanger flew out and hit my bed. I lay there for a few seconds, while my brain frantically scrambled for an explanation, and when I couldn't come up with one, I began screaming in abject terror. Walked into a room seeing a naked granny. Had a pedophile stalk me for a good few years when I was about 12. I'm a lot older now. He was a cunt. I woke up hearing whispering in the corner of my room. I opened my eyes and looked over and saw this black blob walking away toward my door. I couldn't move or say anything for about 30 seconds, and when I did, I didn't care about it. Pretty weird. Didn't seem scary at the time, but I for sure should have been scared. I was in 7th grade trick-or-treating and my friends and I knocked on a house that had the porch light on, but was not really well lit on the inside. The person answered and it happened to be our 6th grade teacher. He gave us candy, but then invited us in to hang out and said we could eat as much candy we wanted. Naturally we wanted candy, so walked in and just hung out with him for an hour or so, eating candy and talking about whatever. He didn't answer the door for any more trick-or-treaters and just hung out with us and gave us sodas or whatever we wanted. Eventually one of my friends said he needed to go home, so we left and didn't think anything of it. Fast forward 5 or 6 years and I find out that my old 6th grade teacher was arrested on child porn charges. I had just moved to a new city, and was walking back to my house after a grocery trip. A truck full of dudes pulls up alongside me and they started shouting graphic descriptions of what they wanted Toto to me. Asked where I lived, if I had a boyfriend, whatever. I ignored it the best I could and hurried up a neighbor's driveway, crossed through her backyard and over a fence into my yard, and entered my house through the back door. I watched this truck pull up into that neighbor's driveway and 4 dudes got out, beating at her front door. Freak that noise. I called my then boyfriend and cried a little. The neighbor called the cops. Or the dude at the bar who left bruises on my arm when I tried to leave my seat. He pulled me into his lap, tried undressing me, started fighting with people who stepped in to get me away from him. I felt myself falling into a very wrong sort of sleep, and there's no way I should have been that messed up after one drink. I came to several hours later, around dawn, on my friend's couch with a killer headache, still wearing my shoes. My cousin has some weird voodoo magic ghostly connection thing, I swear to God, and it's so freaky. He's 5 years old, and ever since he first started saying mama and dada he would randomly holler out, "Ghost," periodically throughout the day. So my aunt comes up to my house one day and is like, "Listen, I think David can talk to spirits," and I'm thinking, yeah okay, whatever you say, Aunt Chelsea. She has the reputation for being the crazy aunt anyway. But then like 2 weeks ago, I'm watching him while his mom is out running some errands. Now, whenever I watch him, I lock the doors that leave the house because he likes to sneak out and walk around the neighborhood without telling anyone he is leaving. So I deadbolt all of the doors. The garage door needs a key to unlock. I put the key in my pocket and then set up a game to play with him. While I'm making him a snack, he sneaks off. I notice he's gone, so I'm looking throughout the house and see that the garage door is open, with the key still in my pocket. What the freak? He's in there playing with a basketball, and I ask him how he got through the door, and he says, "The ghost told me I needed to get out and opened the door for me." He says I got the magic touch. You so creepy. There was this kid that lived behind my house growing up. He was always super anxious and his mom was insane. His father was in the military, and wasn't around very often. We used to have golden eye tournaments at his house, which was always cluttered and messy. His mom was a bit of a hoarder and was always going on about spirits and the voices of the people. One day my family was coming home from dinner, and I remember my family van turning down our street. As we approached our house, I saw a faint beam of light that was centered on my neighbor's house. As I focused my gaze, I noticed a triangle-shaped object in the sky, with 3 blue lights on each side. The lights were all very dim, and hard to make out, but the longer I watched these mysterious lights, the brighter they got. I remember hearing a loud zap, that reminded me of an old television turning on or off. The next thing I knew, I woke up in my bed. I asked to see if anyone else saw something strange last night, but they saw nothing. I took it all for a dream. A couple days later, we noticed my neighbor wasn't at school. Everyone got a bit worried, so me and some neighborhood friends went to go check on him. His house was completely empty. There was a for sale sign in his front yard. It would have taken forever to clean and pack that house because of how much crap was in there. I have tried to look him up, but I've never seen or heard from him since the day before. I've tried to rationalize this in my head for many years, and the best thing I could come up with is that he moved because of his father. The lights could have been a strange reflection through the car window, but I still have an uneasy feeling about the timing, and the image of those blue lights around a triangle-shaped object has been burned into memory. I was about 10, house was all dark, everyone was asleep. I went to the bathroom, and closed the bathroom light, then slowly walked my way back to my room feeling the walls. Then I saw my room door and a kind of shape looking like a girl in a robe form right in the doorway. She wasn't physically there, but it was as if my eyes saw light that wasn't there from the air. I didn't stop. I wailed through her and I felt a cold chill from my spine going gradually through every single nerve of my body. I lit the light and nothing. I closed it back and went back to sleep. I lived there for about 6 years and was always uncomfortable even in my own home. I turned violent when arriving in this city because I was lonely and people laughed at me.